shall now go on to our next very highly energetic eye surgeon. And that's no one else but Swati Agrawal, who runs her own eye setup at Calcutta with great skill and dynamism. And she is going to present a difficult video. On to you, Swati.
Thank you, ma'am. At the foremost, I would like to thank you, ma'am, for giving me the opportunity in speaking in the AIOS ARC. So this is a combination of two cases about intraoperative hard eye. So describing the first case, this was a hypertensive diabetic patient with glaucoma with a history of tamsulosin intake, but his parameters were well under control. So the incisions were made slightly narrow and corneal, but at the time of giving oculin, an influtter of the iris was noted at the opposite pole. So I thought I'm going to land up with an IFIS. I injected viscoelastics and initiated a Rexis, but the AC went on becoming shallower, the cornea hazy, and the globe so hard that I could no longer continue the case. The globe was so hard, I now knew that I had landed up with an acute intraoperative rock hard eye. The iris could not be reposited back, and I needed a different approach. So mannitol was infused and a sterile IO was done to rule out suprachoroidal hemorrhage or effusion. After an hour, I noticed that the cornea was slightly clearer, but the eye was still very hard. So pars plana aspiration of the vitreous was done with the cutter in full visibility, simultaneously palpating the hardness of the globe with the other hand. Alternatively, a vitreous tap of 0.1 to 0.3 ml could also have been done. Now with the clearer cornea, the Rexis could be easily completed and phacoemulsification done. And finally, I had a happy patient and a happy surgeon. Well, again, I had a similar case a few months later, but this time, the patient did not have any history of diabetes, glaucoma, tamsulosin intake, and the pupil was well dilated. There was no iris flutter, but the blue oozed out from under the iris, which I had to wash again. So I injected viscoelastics, but at the time of injecting viscoelastics, the cornea became slightly hazy and the globe hard. The iris started prolapsing. I loosened the speculum and asked the patient to breathe in through the mouth. With much effort, the iris was reposited and tapped at the opposite paracentesis wound to displace the underlying fluids of viscoelastics. But the globe was still hard, so the patient was shifted to ward to infuse some mannitol, and after an hour, after examining on the slit lamp, when the cornea slightly cleared and the IOP was lowered, I resumed the case. Rexis was done, and multiple small hydros were done with intermittent tapping. This time, viscoelastic was given over the iris to prevent any ingress of fluid underneath. The phacoemulsification could now be easily completed. Cortex was manually removed and the IOL implanted. Thank you.
Wonderful video, Swati. So,
thank you, ma'am.
So what do we ask you here? So
I want to ask one question.
Yes.
Were both the patients under block or under topical anesthesia?
Ma'am, topical.
Both were topical.
Both were topical. What could have been done differently in the second case? Of course, I quite appreciated the fact that she injected viscoelastic in that, because sometimes I think it's fluid misdirection which can trigger off this kind of an intraoperative hard eye. But could anything have been done different? Any better learning tips?
So in the second case, I would have aborted the case. You have not really started anything. And she said after doing a slit lamp examination is really not the thing. You have to rule out a limited expulsive. So it's basically a hard eye fluid misdirection can be one, but actually there could be a choroidal effusion that is happening. So an indirect ophthalmoscopy by an expert retina surgeon is something that is required as to why you are getting a hard eye. Because it is under topical, so it's not a peribulbar or a retrobulbar hemorrhage or whatever. It's not a hemorrhage that's putting it up. The moment you have entered the eye, there is that is the possibility where you're getting a limited expert. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So what I felt in the second case, when we examined the pupil on the slit lamp, we also saw the retina. It was fine and okay. But what I felt in the second case was the precipitating factor for the intraoperative hard eye or the aqueous misdirection was that I had given the viscoelastics from the not from the opposite end by not going for the aqueous vitreous exchange, aqueous visco exchange. We usually give visco at the opposite end, and the aqueous comes out from under the wound. But in the second case, I was giving it at the just main wound at the entry of the side port. So the fluid or the aqueous was pushed behind. Is what I felt.
Where the trypan glue started to come out,
Yeah.
there is something that is pushing from the behind. And the point is that if it was a misdirection by just depressing the wound and by removing the visco, it should settle down. Your iris started to peak even despite your removing out the visco. So if there is some element of a misdirection or whatever the situation under those circumstances, the point is that the ruling out, but what I need to emphasize is that ruling out a small effusion of choroidal or a hemorrhage that is happening, which can get precipitated further if you open the eye, because you have just made a side port incision. You can leave it at that particular time and just forget about it and give mannitol, and you can fight the war another day. There is no necessity, and then you can do a good indirect and etc. and everything. A retina surgeon can see that there is nothing that is happening, because cases of effusion has happened. There are cases which you have lost the eyes, and you need to rule that out is my only message. Otherwise, you have handled it well, etc. You are lucky you went ahead and you did this thing, but you need to rule out the effusion that is that could be there. Misdirection in one part, but that is not the one and the only cause for having a hard eye.
Can an effusion happen in a closed chamber
He's
situation?
already made a side port. Nah? It's not in a closed, it may be a closed chamber, but that is the point, the side port and the main incision, that is when the pressure, and that is when you can have that. See, the point is that you have created an open chamber at that particular time, and that is when it precipitates the thing. It can happen obviously at that particular time. That is why the chances are less, because the incision is small. But the point is that is the time when you have made the difference of the pressure within the eye.
Anybody else? Anything? Yes, that's definitely a thought. I thought there was nothing to trigger a hypotony in this eye for a choroidal effusion to happen. That was good. And
talking about an expulsive or limited expulsive hemorrhage. That is what I'm talking about. When you get an expulsive hemorrhage, it's a limited expulsive that is happening. That is what it is. What precipitates an expulsive? Hypertensive, diabetic, high pressure, phacomorphic glaucoma. You just enter the eye, you can have an expulsive. So it is not a frank expulsive where you are seeing the mounds that are happening. It's a limited expulsive that is happening.
does that indicate that if we could, you do flags for all non-ophthalmic or small eyes? Normally now we say polar cataracts, we should do definitely intumescent cataract, definitely flags. But people who have flags, would you start reconsidering doing these cases also, like put that extra pressure on patients? Of course, an intraoperative hard eye is a very rare situation, but having said that, maybe there would be less of manipulations in when you do flags.
I don't think it's necessary to insist on flags in all these cases. Just a couple of preoperative points that we emphasize. Whenever the intraocular lens power is more than plus 25 diopters, or the anterior chamber depth is less than 2.8 millimeters, previous cases of angle closure glaucoma, where a YAC PI has been done, we routinely make it a preoperative protocol. The sister herself gives a tablet for the Diamox glycerol. And then even though we are doing it under topical anesthesia, there's a significant amount of acupressure that's given before we take up the cases. We find that with this, the entire intraocular environment is under control. And I found that the first case which you did, maybe it was only when you started doing the hydro that the iris started collapsing out. Am I right in that?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So I found that you had not,
at the time of giving oculants, sir.
Yeah, you had not normally you do the hydro always through the main port, and you're doing it through the side port. And
Sir,
no?
it was not hydro, it was giving oculin, intraocular.
Hydro
Yeah,
was
I
through
have
the
not
main port.
completed the Rexes.
This is okay.
Hydro was through the main port only.
And just a point about the way you are repositing the iris. Iris gets damaged not because of collapsing out. It's because of the way it's reposited out. And the way it was happening in the first case, especially the amount of time you try to target in. All of us do it, when it's one thing to sit on a sofa and talk, and another thing to do it at the table. So, but it's always a good idea to keep in mind in these situations, go through another port, a side port or the main port, and use the instrument to sweep it across. And also press down on the lens, because if there is fluid which is collected behind the lens, and that's pushing the whole thing, once it flows out, then the intraocular milieu will come under much better control. Whenever it's getting out of hand, as was suggested, it's always a good idea to postpone, examine, and live to fight another day.
So in this case, I didn't use a different port for iris because I didn't want to create another port.
I would have even
Because I was already very hard.
waited for the intraocular pressure to be controlled with the whatever measures you gave, IV mannitol, and subsequently more gently pushed it inside, because
Yes, sir.
this amount of maneuvering through a small side port, invariably it would get frayed, and it will have a tendency to keep getting collapsing out right through your surgery.
Swati, wonderful video.
Ma'am, I wanted to add one quick
Thank
point,
you.
if possible.
Yeah.
So, I just thought that, in fact, you're absolutely right with that Oculan going. So, you don't really need to put so much of Oculan with so much force that it, flutters the whole iris. And I thought that the direction in which it was pushed was also not really correct. It was actually directed, straight under the iris or the opposite point. Maybe, I would probably put just 0.1 or 0.2, and I usually put it in oblique direction from the paracentesis in a very gentle way. And you don't need to kind of, be careful about the direction of the fluid in which you're pushing it, because it was actually aimed at going right through the zonules. It's a glaucoma patient and behind the lens. And probably that's where your, the fluid got trapped behind the lens through the zonules. I'm just kind of guessing.
No, sir.
So,
after these two cases, I've changed my techniques of, I've always stuck to giving this aqueous visco exchange and changed my direction, as you mentioned and pointed out. Thank you for pointing that
it's
out.
very nicely handled, Dr.
Very
Swati.
nicely handled, Swati. Good videos.
Thank you.
Can I ask one question to the panelists? If it's possible.
Yes, Karan.
You were suspecting, active misdirection. Would the seniors go by the pars plana with a 26 gauge needle and try to take out that fluid? Because I've seen it comes out and it really reduces the pressure. What is the senior's opinion on that?
Yeah, so Karan, you are absolutely right, but you need to be sure on that. And just by putting in by going in by a trocar cannula, you just have to put it there, and the fluid will come out, and there'll be a good hypotony that will come. So that will clearly establish that it is a misdirection. So you really don't have to enter at all. You just have to depress it. There are several videos that we have shown in cases of ecomorphic, etc. If you just are there, but you have to be careful that you are not injuring the lens. Okay.
It's one thing to put in a trocar cannula and let the fluid flow out. That is perfectly all right. But as was being done in the olden days, where we used to go in with a needle pointing towards this right in the center of the vitreous cavity and aspirate, that's a strict no-no. I think if at all you find that it's not getting, the pressure is not coming down, you need to go in with a vitrectomy probe and cut the vitreous and take out a little amount of vitreous. And of course, if just on putting the cannula, if the fluid flows out and the pressure normalizes, then you don't really have to go in. But blindly going in with a needle and aspirating is definitely not done.
So we have 3 more good speakers. So let's go on. Thanks, Swati.